I was at the Trump inauguration yesterday, and needless to say, I disagree with much of what he had to say. But what really struck me, however, is not what he said, which was not surprising given his rhetoric, but what he didn't say.
You know what you didn't say?
It is no great secret that human beings are not particularly anxious to address painful realities. That is true of us as individuals. It is true of us as a society. During his inaugural speech, Trump did not have one word to say about how we're going to address the planetary crisis of climate change. The last 10 years have been the warmest years ever recorded, and extreme weather disturbances and natural disasters are taking place all over the world, from Los Angeles to India, across Europe to North Carolina. Not one word from Trump about climate change, except, of course, to make it clear that he intends to make this horrific situation even worse with drill, baby, drill. Just brilliant.
And this is the surface of Lake Lure, an hour below the mountains of Asheville, now an apocalyptic stew of rubble and debris after Helene ripped through the state, unleashing torrential downpours and catastrophic mudslides.
In climate news, tens of thousands of dead fish have washed ashore across multiple beaches along the Texas Gulf Coast after they were starved of oxygen due to abnormally warm ocean temperatures. In 2019, the UN warned the climate crisis will increasingly lead to massive die-offs of marine life as warm water holds far less oxygen than colder water. This comes as more than 430 wildfires continue to burn across Canada, with thousands of people in Alberta, British Columbia, and Quebec still under evacuation orders. Quebec's Minister of Public Security said the blazes will likely last all summer, with more air quality alerts likely across the northern U.S. and Canada. Last Wednesday, as thick, dark smoke from Canada's fires blanketed New York City, over 300 people were seen at hospitals due to symptoms of asthma, nearly double the number seen the day before the smoke arrived.
That human beings are not particularly anxious to address painful realities. This is especially true when it requires taking on powerful special interests like the fossil fuel industry and their endless amounts of money.
A key federal report on last year's massive oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico is expected today. The report follows months of hearings by an investigative team from the Coast Guard and the federal agency in charge of regulating offshore drilling.
We must act and act boldly. Our Earth is warming rapidly. We see this every day in every part of the world. Drought, floods, forest fires, and extreme weather disturbances are increasing. What he didn't say, the simple truth, is that Donald Trump gave a major speech, the first speech of his second presidency, and ignored virtually every important issue facing the working families of this country. How crazy is that? We see this every day in every part of the world. Hunger, disease, and human migrations are increasing. We see this every day in every part of the world. Instead of denying these obvious realities, instead of doing the bidding of oil, gas, and coal companies, instead of fomenting a new Cold War with China. Members of Congress must develop an unprecedented sense of urgency about this global crisis.
This is an unprecedented storm, and it's causing us to have an unprecedented response.
This is the city of Asheville in the western mountains of North Carolina, 2,000 feet above sea level and hundreds of miles away from the nearest coastline. But such was the force of Hurricane Helene that nowhere in its path was safe.
How crazy is that? Is President-elect Trump right? Is climate change a hoax?
I can give you the best answer is three things. First of all, climate is changing. That's undisputable. The second thing is man has had an influence. I think that's undisputable as well. I don't know definitively. There's a lot of debate on both sides of the aisle.
Well, actually, there's not a whole lot of debate now. The scientific community is virtually unanimous that climate change is real and causing devastating problems. There is the debate on this committee, but not within the scientific community.
And are the government changing their tune somewhat? Because previously they had been playing down what's been happening in the nuclear reactor, but now they're saying that it's a very grave situation indeed.
They really are. They really are going back and forth from sort of sounding the alarms and asking people to take caution to the other to sort of being almost in denial about it and playing down things. And it just indicates that they're really not totally in control of what's going on. First of all, at the Fukushima plant, and sort of just the whole scale of this disaster is overwhelming. I think it's overwhelming the ability of authorities to cope.